Welcome back to Own Your Faith and our How Do I Fit project. In this session, we're going to look at my gifts. You know, have you ever noticed how in school and in our society, when somebody is really good at something, how we talk about them? I mean, think about that person at your school who's either really good at basketball, you know, they can make the three-pointers, or they're excellent at playing an instrument, or they're a great singer, or they're super at math, or whatever it is that they're really good at. Notice how we sometimes say that they are gifted. It's like, wow, man, she is really gifted at that, or that guy is gifted. It's true that they have a special gift at those things. But when we say that those people are gifted, what does that mean about the rest of us? It's like, what are we? Nothing? We're just average. Well, that's how the world talks about gifts. But the Bible looks at things a lot different. The Bible tells us that every one of us, first of all, is a gift from God. Our life is a gift. But then each one of us are uniquely designed. God has given us gifts. Now, the Apostle Paul talks about it like this in 1 Corinthians chapter 12.
God's various gifts are handed out everywhere. You can easily see how this kind of thing works by looking no further than your own body. Your body has many parts, limbs, organs, cells, but no matter how many parts you can name, you're still one body. It's exactly the same with Christ. By means of his one Spirit, we all said goodbye to our partial and piecemeal lives. We each used to independently call our own shots, but then we entered into a large and integrated life in which he has the final say in everything. This is what we proclaimed in word and action when we were baptized. Each of us is now a part of his resurrection body, refreshed and sustained at one fountain, his Spirit, where we all come to drink. The old labels we once used to identify ourselves, labels like Jew or Greek, slave or free, popular or unpopular, jock or geek, are no longer useful. We need something larger, more comprehensive. I want you to think about how all this makes you more significant, not less. A body isn't just a single part blown up into something huge. It's all the different but similar parts arranged and functioning together. If foot said, "I'm not elegant like hand, embellished with rings, I guess I don't belong to this body," would that make it so? If ear said, "I'm not beautiful like eye, limpid and expressive, I don't deserve a place on the head," would you want to remove it from the body? If the body was all eye, how could it hear? If all ear, how could it smell? As it is, we see that God has carefully placed each part of the body right where he wanted it. But I also want you to think about how this keeps your significance from getting blown up into self-importance. For no matter how significant you are, it is only because of what you are part of. An enormous eye or a gigantic hand wouldn't be a body, but a monster. What we have is one body with many parts, each its proper size and in its proper place. No part is important on its own. Can you imagine eye telling hand, "Get lost, I don't need you," or head telling foot, "You're fired, your job has been phased out"? As a matter of fact, in practice, it works the other way. The lower the part, the more basic and therefore necessary. You can live without an eye, for instance, but not without a stomach. When it's a part of your own body that you're concerned with, it makes no difference whether the part is visible or clothed, higher or lower. You give it dignity and honor just as it is, without comparisons. If anything, you have more concern for the lower parts than the higher. If you had to choose, wouldn't you prefer good digestion to full-bodied hair? The way God designed our bodies is a model for understanding our lives together as a church. Every part dependent on every other part. The parts we mention and the parts we don't. The parts we see and the parts we don't. If one part hurts, every other part is involved in the hurt and in the healing. If one part flourishes, every other part enters into the exuberance. You are Christ's body. That's what you are. You must never forget this.
Each one of us has been given a special set of gifts. Now, some of those gifts are more public gifts, like gifts of teaching or gifts of music or being up in front in leadership. But there's so many other gifts that are more behind the scenes kind of gifts, like the gifts of service, the gifts of faith, the gifts of administration. And all of the different gifts are absolutely necessary. And so in this session, you're going to read through different passages of Scripture that talk about some of the many gifts that God has given to each one of us. And you're also going to talk about your special interests and your talents and your skills. And as you and your mentor explore these different things, you'll discover that you have been uniquely designed by God to be a gift for the world. God has created you, and God invites you to use your gifts to bring something beautiful and constructive to the world. So I encourage you this session to really take an honest look in the mirror and say, who has God made me to be? What are my gifts? And how can I use them for the world? Enjoy your session and continue your journey and own your faith.